All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, welcome again to the Freedom Alternative on another relatively special and off the rules kind of broadcast. We're here with Ronald Schmidt. You've already met him in the previous type of intervention when we had Jacob Grandstaff from the Capital Research Center. And this time we're also with Mr. X, coming from Ex-commie broadcasting from Venezuela. Hello, Mr. X.
Hello, Lucian.
Nice to have you here. Right, so on this channel we've been talking quite a lot about the situation in Venezuela. So I guess we're now going to have our chance to test our guesses. As I'm sure you know, all three of us, we are from an ex-communist country, and when we're looking at Venezuela, we're essentially looking at our own past in many regards. But until we get to that particular topic, please tell us whatever, to the extent that you can, tell us your story. How did you get to the position when you're giving an interview to a right-wing Romanian channel, essentially?
All right. Yes. Well, when I was a child, I saw how Chavez rose to power, and I became like very excited that not only was there someone in the world talking like in a tough language to the empire, as they call it over here, like the American empire, they call it over and over as a native thing. And I got to believe that because when I was younger, I had read about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I kind of developed this hatred towards that abusive empire. And there was this guy from my country running for president, wanting to, do something about it, or that's what I thought. And later on, years went by. I kept following it, but it's like I never put a lot of thought in my support to him. I always did it in out of a convenient way, like I heard the United States had done these wrong things. Then there is Chavez talking to them in a tough language. Then I'm with Chavez. That's it. It's like it was pretty stupid on my part because I consider myself an intelligent person, and I can't believe that I let myself be deceived by his lies. I see Chavez as a Trojan horse for the Cuban regime, who, in the past they tried to invade Venezuela with guerrillas and a lot of things I didn't know back then. So it's like I feel like Chavez was a huge betrayer of Venezuela, of everything he promised us. It's not here. It's. I mean, we were so much better than we are now, and he promised we will be even better. So, and we are now worse than ever. It's like what is this? It makes no sense. And I supported him, and I started noticing that the economy wasn't going so well, so I got angry with him. Like I broke my ties with that ideology. But then when he dies, and I find out, I break into crying. I cried when I found out that he died, even though I was already part of the opposition, so to say, because here is another parenthesis. The current Venezuelan opposition isn't a real opposition at all. I mean, it's composed of pure leftist parties who just do everything to keep the government where it is. And the only political party that will be more or less right wing, would be Maria Corina's, but Maria Corina, in my own opinion, isn't as radical or as determined as she should have been, you know. So she's kind of leftist as
Can you
well,
hear me?
at least in her attitude.
What I want to
So,
ask you is
well,
before you quit the Communist Party, how did you used to balance the reality you saw around you with the political indoctrination from the party? I mean, you had to see that people were not that good the way they promised it will be, but you remained in the Communist Party. You told us in a mail that you even used to defend the policies.
yeah, well, here is I never was in their party. Like I used to ideologically support them. I've never even voted at all. I don't believe in democracy, but that's another story. Like, uh, but you know, I supported them. I love Chavez. I believed in the project. Thank God I never voted, and thank God I never was in their political party. You know that I don't know what I mean, it's already pretty tough to me, and I, you know, I was like not such a big figure or anything. I'm just a
Can
normal
you tell us about
person.
your friend, the one arrested?
Yes, yes. I don't know if you are aware about the massacre, the El Junquito massacre that occurred 2 months ago, where Oscar Perez got killed with a bazooka. All right, all right. Well, that was awful, and I felt very bad because you know he kind of I kind of had some hope with this guy that you know eventually maybe things will change and suddenly he's dead. You know, I felt very bad because I didn't believe him that much. Like I had this hope, but I wasn't so sure. I wasn't so sure if he was the real deal, you know? Now that he's dead, everybody knows he was the real deal, but you know, before we didn't know. So it really hurt me. Like the guy died for a whole country that didn't even believe in him, and the guy never killed anyone. And you know, it kind of hit me a bit. You know, I don't have any personal nexus with this guy, but a month later, I find out in Patricia Poleo's YouTube channel that my friend, a friend whom I met at the university 11 years ago, before he enrolled into the army, he's currently detained because he was somehow related to Oscar Perez. And you know, it's like he's being tortured. I can't believe this. It's and last year, like wait, it's last year during the protests of the young people. All right, I have this friend from my university, a young guy, a journalist as well. Journalist. He just had graduated, and he was a very good baseball player as well, and he got shot in the chest with a bullet that had no serials. It's like a they used a handmade shotgun to avoid the you know it's terrorist. It's awful. I can't believe this, and I don't have any direct. I haven't seen anything so close, but you know there is also Hezbollah and stuff. I have no direct information about that. Thank God, but um, but you know it's going on. It's weird. We need. this has to stop. You know, sorry for my English.
No, don't worry about it. Ronald, want to ask a question?
Your parents, your family, what background they have, if they have any political background, and if they supported or not communism.
Yes, well, in that sense, we all support communism. I guess maybe the girls, like my mom and sister, didn't. Like I don't know. Maybe if you could take out that fact. Well, but anyway, I think they weren't so fanatic as me and my father were. Like we really believed in the process, and the fact that he believed made me believe even more, and the fact that I believed made him believe even more. Like we kind of made that feeling stronger, you know. But we, I mean, it's like obviously there were some kind of um, bonuses that we might have gotten. I don't know. This sounds awful. This sounds awful because it sounds as if I were part of a corrupt family, and it's not the case. It's really not the case. Um, but like the fact that we enjoyed certain small privileges made us like um, be blindly, I always saw it as something not as important as now that I see my country in ruins, know that it is, like I just pick a side. There were two sides, I picked a side. It was the side that was more convenient to me at the time, and now time went by and that side screwed everything, and I
So
didn't know
basically,
this was gonna
the
happen.
perks awarded by the regime were a good enough incentive, so to speak, and the near religious-like flavor, and I guess fervor as well. The support provided by your father was also a good enough incentive for you to go into a leftist direction in your youth. Is that a fair assessment?
Can you repeat that? I understand. I understood something about religious fervor. What else?
The perks or the privileges, as you put it, the perks or the privileges awarded by the regime, and also the similarly to the religious fervor of the support shown by your father to the regime, were these two good enough incentives for you to move into a leftist direction in your youth? Is that a fair assessment?
I'm not sure if I understand your question, but I will just tell it like it is because maybe what I said before confused you. Um, my dad is in the military. That's why that's that's what I meant. Like that's all the convenience. That's
Yeah,
nothing
so
else.
because he was a state
Like
employee, that came with some privileges, and that in itself translated into support for the Socialist Party.
yes, like it was like there were two candidates, and one of these candidates was saying that the military was going to be better and stuff. So obviously, for my family, and I was a child, and I was a very ignorant person who didn't know anything about economics or politics. Yes, but thank God, like I said, I never voted. We never robbed anything. Thank God. Thank God. I wouldn't be doing this interview if I had. I would be traveling in Europe. Like many people must be doing. Like they made this Kabibi system where they here is an exchange. How do you say it? Exchange control. It's illegal for Venezuelans to have any other currency that isn't bolivars. So This way, they make people poor. They are the only ones with dollars. It's awful. Um, they had this system before, like what's called Cadivi, in which they gave every Venezuelan $5,000 per year to travel across the world and stuff. It was kind of weird. So many people, many Venezuelans, a lot of Venezuelans seized this opportunity and they traveled around the world, but they saved most of the coupon of the amount of the total amount they assigned them, the $5,000, and they brought it here and they saved it. Like right now in Venezuela, you can live if you don't worry about paying rent. Like if you have a house here, you can live like a king with $100 per month, like a king. Like I mean, it's crazy. Like you won't feel any crisis. At least maybe insecurity that they might rob you. I barely go out of my house. Like I'm very addicted to the computer, so I don't have this necessity to go out. Thank God I make my businesses through internet, and that's what makes me be a bit above the rest of the population. The fact that I earn a bit of dollars monthly.
You told us that your father is in the military. How much is the wage in the military for him?
Oh my God, amazing question. Last month they transferred, it was 5 million bolivares. 5 million bolivares. It is more or less $25.
Considering that your bolivars are exchanged on a how do you state enforced value, but outside the border you buy it with around 200,000 bolivars. That means what, about $15 to 20 per month. How
25.
Yeah, 25, whatever. How can you consider you're privileged when you work in the army and gain that just $25 a month?
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's why I was like, I don't want you to get this wrong. Like, there is no privilege at all. We thought there will be privileges. Like, that's what was trying to tell you. Like, when Chavez was a presidential candidate, uh, I saw him as the more convenient option for me and my family because my dad was in the military. That's it. It was a stupid argument, a stupid decision that has taken me a long way. There are members of my family and friends with whom I argued in the past due to my political. I mean, I was defending Chavez and I lost a lot of friends, and it's. I hate communism so much.
But you told us that the wages before the communist period were somehow bigger in the army.
Yes. When my dad got out of the school and he was like the first rank, I don't know, like the barely a soldier. He he earned around $1,000 per month. Like not long ago, we were a normal country, but fast game, yeah, like we were and we are the richest country in Latin America. We have the biggest oil reserves. But
Yeah, you're sitting with your asses on one of the biggest oil reserves, the biggest oil reserve in the world. So I don't quite understand why you're in that situation, living with $25 a month.
Socialism.
yes,
Yeah,
I don't understand it either. That's the problem. It's like I want to hear you.
Question: is your family still leftist today?
No, at all.
All right, let's talk about the economic situation, how it feels in practice. Because now I understand Spanish, so I try my best to read sources as close as possible to Venezuela, because inside Venezuela there's not much of a free press left. But still, there are certain myths that have crawled out. I don't think they're myths. I mean, some of them sound pretty credible to me. So please do confirm or infirm to us. For instance, is the situation of people hunting dogs to eat them because the starvation has gotten so extreme? Is that true? And if yes, and if yes, to what extent?
All right. Here is what I know about it. Um, I don't know anyone who has had to get to that extreme of eating a dog to survive. I don't know anyone, but I do know a person who lives in a like a poor side of the city, and they told me that the birds, the palomas, the birds from the cities, pigeons, yes, the pigeons, they were gone. Like there are no more pigeons. They are eating pigeons. It's like Peruvians used to do. I know it's funny.
It's not particularly funny. I mean, we've been in that situation. I mean, in the 80s, yeah, but hunting pigeons wasn't particularly that out of touch.
I mean, it's awful. It's awful. I can't believe this. I've seen people eating in the trash. It makes no sense. It's seriously like
All right. So, if in the military the wages are about $25, that means for the average Venezuelan is probably even less than that. I've read in a Washington, I think it was in the Washington Post, where it said doctors, for instance, get a wage of about $20, oftentimes a lot less than that. How do the average Venezuelans live with that, or is everyone just involved in the black market?
exactly. That's the big deal. Here is like the whole socialist picture. Like the minimum wage for people who isn't in the military. Like oh my god, this. But I don't know if this details. Anyway, $25 per month is a colonel's wage.
Fuck! Holy shit,
I
mate!
mean, it's like the minimum wage for a normal person is like $4 or $3 per month. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Like people has to use the black market to buy and trade their dollars, but it's illegal, so they can put you in jail because of that
Just like
whenever they want.
1980s Romania.
Like everybody does it, but
Just like 1980s Romania, in the 1980s you could go to jail if you even owned US dollars, let alone try to change them, try to exchange them. And $4 a month, that's a lot lower than the global minimum poverty rate or absolute poverty rate. I mean, the absolute poverty rate is about $1 per day. So
I know exactly extreme poverty. It makes no sense. It's like I survive because my dad gives me his wage. Like, you know, 20, what the, do you know? I lived abroad. Like, I used to spend that much on a weekend. I remember spending almost $100, like, on a weekend, and I didn't care. Right now, with $100, it's a lot more. I know it's nothing out there. I don't know. It's awful. And people survive like I don't know how people does. That's why there is so much crime. Like, what would you do? Like, I survived with my dad's wage. of $25, and I have, like, some problems, and there is people that needs to, work 8 hours a day for $4. I don't understand that.
I presume you have rural estates in Venezuela. Uh, can't you buy the food from the peasants, from those that produce it directly?
No. Here are like supermarkets and stuff, but nice. It's a good question because there is a problem with basic food as well. Like the government has put fixed prices to the food, so fixed prices are a very absurd measure because, take for instance, the flour that is used to make arepas, which is a typical food from here, is worth 25,000 bolivares. The official fixed price, 25 bolivares, let's say, and people is making long lines to buy this kilo of flour for 25 bolivares to resell it for 100 bolivares. It's like they don't even eat the food. Like, I try not to make those long lanes for dignity. Like, I'm not going to make any long lane for food. I'm not going to lane to buy food at a lower price just because the government is putting that stupid a real price. It makes no sense to me. But there is a lot of people who actually do this, and instead of eating the food, they resell it. I don't understand that. Like,
Okay,
people here are like the Walking Dead.
okay, but presuming there are peasants that have pieces of land on which they grow produce, they can't sell it directly to somebody else.
I can tell, like, I don't know what to tell you because I don't know growers, but I mean, everything is a problem here. The government tries to get involved in every kind of business that they can, and their goal is to ruin the producer. They don't want any private production going on. They want to be the only ones who produce, and because of that, there is nothing. They don't produce anything.
So basically, they can't produce due to the prices, if I understand correctly from my friend here.
I think I understood your question now. Like, yes, for instance, Empresas Polar Enterprises are one of the biggest companies here, and they are the makers of this harina pan. Harina pan is the flour made for the arepas. And these guys, I'm pretty sure that they get dollars, from the government. They get dollars from the government, they sell it in the black market, and then, of course, they give away their kilo of harina at 25,000 bolivares, which is nothing. They basically give it away because they are seeing their profit out of the black market exchange. Now, I don't have any proof of this, but that's my guess.
That's probably true. That's probably true because that would be the only way for them to even survive as a company. How about emigration? I mean, I was reading in one of my periodic insanities episodes that there are tens of thousands already, and sometimes in some in some periods even hundreds of thousands of people emigrating towards Colombia in particular, and some of them coming back with products or hard currency or whatever, but many of them went to Colombia and stayed there for or planned to stay there for longer periods of time, some of them even illegally. How much of how big is this phenomenon, and emigration in general? Do people even consider leaving in vast enough numbers?
Well, what can I tell you? My whole family is abroad. They are not here. I'm living alone. Um, that's why I was scared also. Like, if the government wanted to fuck me, they could. You know, I'm so small. But well, my friends are the ones with European nationality are in Europe, and the others that and there are others that are in some other parts of Latin America, but yeah, pretty much everyone has gone. It's this isn't the country I mean the country has changed so much. In every year is different. Every year it's worse. In 2016, I crashed my car. I haven't been able to put it back to on to make it move. But and for that reason, I'm not going to be able to continue my university. Like, the university is way too far away. I need to get bolivares in cash to pay for the for the bus. But when you go to the bank to try and get some cash, they barely give you 10,000 bolivares, which is nothing. It's I mean 200,000 bolivares are $1.
So
10,000
so
bolivares
not
are not.
so not enough for a bus fare.
What?
Not enough for a bus ticket or bus fare.
I don't understand. Is fair
Or ticket
a ticket of what?
for bus. So you can't even take the bus.
All right, all right. Like 5,000, 5,000.
Of just the bus and a quarter of a sandwich or something.
No, actually, a sandwich could be worth 100, like 100,000, and the ticket is barely 5,000. It's not. It's really not much. It's nothing. But the problem is to find the bolivars in cash. Like, pretty much every transaction that we do nowadays, it's bank transfer or uh, debit card, credit card.
Of course, like in full communism, no liberty, just all electronic transfers, people.
Exactly, no liberty. Yes, there is a shortage of cash, and it's horrible. It's
You're out of paper for printing the cash.
what?
You're out of paper for printing the cash.
No. I don't know. I don't know. I believe I don't know, man. It's like they have the dollars. We have all the oil. They sell the oil internationally, and they have the dollars. Like, they don't print more money because they don't want.
Okay, but you have elections there. Can't you just vote out Maduro and his
Yeah,
Right now, are you talking about this year's elections?
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's like, wait a second. It's like these elections were called by the National Assembly, but the fake one, the National Asamblea Nacional Constituyente,
Uh,
National Constituent Assembly. All right,
yeah.
all right. That stuff isn't legal. That thing isn't even in the Constitution. The very same as assembly that is calling for the election. So it makes no sense. And the opposition going to those elections are betrayers. They are following Maduro's game.
Sorry,
I
but
mean, even internationally, they have rejected those elections. And how can the opposition be going? I don't understand. I believe they retreated from the elections, but I try not to follow news so much because they they make me sick.
You don't have any opposition, as you told us earlier, there To me, it sounds like the old KGB style, mastering the both sides of a debate.
Exactly. In my opinion, that's the case.
But I believe there are people in Venezuela that don't go with the Communist Party. They go to vote. Can't you vote out the communists?
With votes,
Yeah, don't vote them. Vote somebody else.
yes, but how can you vote for someone in an election that has been called by a national assembly that isn't constitutional? That makes no sense. And there is another thing.
Yeah.
Maduro is Colombian. Maduro shouldn't be like Venezuela's constitution says the president must be born in Venezuela and can't have any other nationality. And Maduro's mom is Colombian. Pastrana, ex-president from Colombia, Pastrana, yesterday or in these days, showed Maduro's mother certificate of birth or something, and it proves that Maduro's mom is Colombian. Therefore, according to Colombia's constitution, Maduro is Colombian. Therefore, he can be president.
But Maduro is born in Colombia, or
Yes, it looks like he was born, but there are no, he hasn't shown his birth certificate, so nobody can tell, but her mom is Colombian.
yeah,
and
he's born in Colombia. Definitely.
Ronald?
Yeah, this thing with the birth certificate of Maduro just reminds me of the Obama thing. It's pretty much the same stuff, and it's very weird. Anyway, I know Venezuela and pretty much the whole Latin America was colonized by Spain. I want to hear your honest opinion on how do you see the situation in Spain. You maybe know about the Catalan movement of separatism towards the Spain, and Spanish people are pretty socialist. How do you see all the situation in Spain?
I don't. I see the Catalonian movement as a. I believe maybe Maduro made something there, moved some strings there to piss off Rajoy. I'm not sure. Like I don't know a lot about Spanish politics, but I see with I see that they are pretty much postmodern, right? Like pretty liberals, and I don't like that much.
All right. You said previously that you have some resentment, some resilience towards democracy. Why is that? How do you see democracy?
Yes, well, yes, maybe I sounded as like a dictator or something, but what I really meant was that I've always seen these democracy contests as beauty contests in which people, a lot of people, elect the more charismatic candidate, not the most prepared candidate or the one with the best intentions or whatever. We just pick like a mask, and like I just don't believe in that. It's like I consider I can vote or not, and they're going to do whatever they want to do, and we're not going to find out anyway as long as we keep playing these rules that we've been playing for so long. Like maybe now with blockchain and these technologies and artificial intelligence, we might create something, some kind of decentralized government. Is that even possible?
An intelligent communist, I don't think even AI can accomplish that. You mentioned blockchain. By the way, I've read in several, let's call them less than trustworthy sources. So I'm basically asking you to confirm or infirm that there is quite a decent market for cryptocurrencies in Venezuela for the simple reason that even with all the volatility, there's still a much better hedge against the Bolivar inflation. How true is that?
Well, Venezuela is right now the paradise for Bitcoin because electricity is pretty much free, you know. So there are a lot. Yes. Why is it fun? I don't understand.
Because back in the 80s, when we had Venezuelan communism, essentially, it was pretty much the same. I mean, the electricity was basically, well, quote unquote free. It was pretty much the only thing that was still sort of provided by the government, even though it was rationed and the power outages were quite often. But at the very least, it wasn't it wasn't costly.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the same. There are
Communism.
light outages
Not
and everything.
even one.
Yes.
Also, I've read another report that, and that one seemed a little bit funny, so I don't know if it's true. So please, again, tell me if it's true or not. That there are individuals who trade in World of Warcraft currency or in rare Pepes. How true is that?
World of Warcraft currency. I don't know. I had this friend that told me something about some pages in which they exchanged. Yeah, even Counter Strike currency. I don't understand that much. I'm a gamer myself, but I didn't play those games and didn't did that.
You should start now.
No, no, no. I'm looking at other things.
Okay, so what other things are you looking at? I mean, how do you see your immediate future? Let's say the next 5 years.
The next 5 years, well, I expect that somehow communism falls, or I'm out, or I might be dead. I don't know. It's like that's the truth. But right now, I'm using internet to be kind of be out of this horrible place that used to be my country. I'm taking a course of artificial intelligence. I would like to develop my own artificial intelligence.
How come they haven't censored the internet yet?
I don't know. I don't know, but they have censored Twitter. If you speak out loud against the government in Twitter, they might go to your home and kidnap you. I haven't used Twitter in a long time, until this year, I think, because I was afraid. I was afraid to express myself in there.
I think we can help a little bit with that. Maybe we can set our location, me and my friend, we can set, and maybe Ronald too, and maybe we can get a few other people on board. We can set our location to Venezuela. I mean, we can tweet in Spanish. It's not that complicated.
Google Translate.
Let's see how much I mean, maybe a little bit confuse the government because, well, one day they might stumble upon a genuine dissident from Venezuela, but maybe the next day they'll stumble upon one of my tweets. So maybe they'll confuse the government a little bit. Maybe we can help with that.
What's going to confuse the government? Sorry.
If many of us foreigners, basically, I mean people outside of Venezuela, we start using Twitter with Venezuela as our location, and then when the government scans for dissident content, they maybe stumble upon us instead of stumbling upon actual dissidents.
Oh, I understand. I understand. Like, of course, that will help a lot to denounce what's going on. Because, yes, of course, because that's the thing that's going on. Nobody's going to do this kind of interview when they know they could go to jail or they could lose their money. People just want power, money, and girls.
Like everyone else.
That's yes. Well, I'm after that myself, but and it's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, sacrifice those things to speak the truth, and it's kind of hippie. So you know, uh, yes, it will help a lot to denounce this, because we who are here are trying to survive, and we are not going to speak to put ourselves in danger, as we saw Oscar Perez did, and we all saw what happened to him, and we don't even have guns. I don't have guns.
Yeah, because you're not in America.
Yeah, because that's what happens in communism. The populace is disarmed. I mean, we are still disarmed in Romania as a legacy of communism. Things have started slowly to get better, but it's still very, very far from getting correctly. I may add. I mean, at the very least, at least a quarter of the population should be armed all the time, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. How about safety on the streets, both for the locals and for the tourists? For instance, if I were to come to Venezuela, how safe would it be for me to come, first and foremost? And secondly, how safe it is in general to walk down the streets and maybe even videotape or even just walk down the streets? In Caracas in particular.
And there is this famous YouTuber called Luisito Comunica. You know him? No?
I do know him. I
Oh,
my friends do.
all right. Luisito Comunica came to Venezuela, and he had the great idea to take selfies in El Silencio. El Silencio is a place in which it has a high level of criminality, and he got robbed. They robbed his camera, and like um, levels of safety there. I don't take my phone out. My phone is a blue. Do you know that brand? A blue.
Yeah.
All right. It's a blue. I used to have a Samsung S3. It was the top of technology that day, but okay, so I have a blue. It's not even a huge brand, and if I take it out, they are probably gonna drop me. Like I taken it out. I've done it, but because we are kind of crazy, and when you can and when you can't, and you mentalize and you say they're not gonna rob me today, and but before I took it out and things, they brought me a Nokia, a old phone. It wasn't even a smartphone, and they brought me a Nokia. Like, what were they going to do with that? I don't know. And they brought me going out of my street. I was um, um, making sure a friend that had come to visit me grabbed her bus and nothing happened to her. But yeah, like a motorbike came with two guys. One had a gun. He uh, aimed at me and told me, "Give me what you have." I gave him everything, and it's like, yeah, like what are you going to do? I don't have any guns. Anyway, I don't go out without a car that much for that reason. But in cars, they can kidnap you. Like, I was kidnapped a few years ago, but I don't want to talk about it. Maybe other time. Anyway, yeah, I don't recommend coming over, or if you're coming, don't use watches or anything. You need to look like someone with no money, like like you need to blend with this situation.
It's actually worse than it was in the 1980s Romania or early
Or
1990s.
even
I mean,
anywhere in the Eastern
or even anywhere in Eastern Europe in general, or the Soviet Union. I mean, yeah, there was street criminality, but what you're describing is way, way worse than anything we've experienced here.
Yes, this is awful. But wait, this was awful before, and now obviously it's worse. Like I don't like to see news that much because it's everything negative, and but there is this new. I saw a few months. I can't remember, maybe a few years ago. they had butchered a person into pieces, and they found the pieces of this person in a car, and the car was parked there, and some neighbors called the police because there was this weird car there. And when the police opened the car, there was an arm in a seat. The head was in the trunk. Like it,
Terrible.
that's satanic, you know. Like
Now that you mentioned the police, I presume it's pretty corrupt, but on a scale of 1 to 1000% corrupt, how corrupt is the police?
absolutely corrupt. Absolutely, because they earn the. I mean, you know, the military is privileged, and they earn $25. How much can a policeman earn? In fact, Oscar Perez was a policeman. He was a high rank policeman. That's why he did what he did. The situation is no, who can stand this? Nobody can. But somehow people is still silent. You know, nobody cares. Even inside, it's awful. So I really appreciate what you're doing
So I guess
because
I
I'll
guess
just
the only silver lining here, I guess the only positive thing is that you can still leave because in the 1980s in Eastern Europe we were not allowed to leave, well at least not legally. But other than that is significant. What you're describing is significantly worse than anything we've experienced here. How about the bureaucracies? Have they gotten worse? And again, how corrupt would you assess them? Any kind of bureaucracy. I don't know. Let's say I want to exchange my driver's license, or I want to. I won't even dare to ask how it is to open a business because that's definitely a no-no. but simple things.
no, well, it's this has always been a very corrupt country in that way, and with communism, it's like even more. And when you have these ridiculous wages, like you come over here with enough dollars, and you can do whatever you want, pretty much.
Zero. Right, Ronald. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a quote for you. Maduro blames the country problems on an economic war waged by the opposition and business leaders with help from Washington. Do you think that America has anything to do? I think, I'm not sure, I want you to confirm there was an embargo on your country exporting oil, and that embargo was set up by America. Is this true? And do you think that America, Washington, has anything to do with the current situation in your country? Because that's a lot of propaganda that comes into that direction.
Yes, well, that has always been the government's line. They always say that, but I guess Donald Trump's United States might be doing something now, but Barack Obama wasn't doing anything. Um, about the economic war. That Maduro says that phrase every day. People is they don't believe him. It's like economic war. Economic war is the one they have against us. Like they fix these prices that make no sense with economic reality and humiliate people to make long lanes, or however you pronounce it, to buy food at a price arbitrarily set by the government. Like I want it to be $1 per kilo, and people go, and I don't know. It's really they are giving away crumbles. Like the economic war is the one Maduro has against his own people. That's the
That's
truth.
true. I mean, even if there had been an embargo, because actually, technically there isn't, but even if there had been, I mean, the United States is only one buyer. There are many, many other places in the world that need oil. Because I was reading recently on the business-only edition of I think it was either on the Wall Street Journal or Business Insider. But basically, many companies and many countries that have nothing against the communist regime in Venezuela have stopped buying from the Venezuelan refineries because the quality of the product has been dropping so much that it is no longer useful as a product. I mean, the oil that Venezuela produces today is inferior in quality than what it used to be merely 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
All right. I don't know if the United States has set an embargo in Venezuela, but I'm pretty sure they haven't, because when they do, I mean, I don't know why the dollar, the black market dollar, has remained so at the same price. It hasn't moved that much. We are in March already. I thought that by March it will be at 500 or 400 bolivars, and it has been the whole year at 200 bolivars. Like, the government is doing something to keep the inflation low, but it's artificial. It makes no sense. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I mean, basically, the economic reality of the country, because the black market exchange rate, the black market course is the real course. And the black market exchange rate remaining the same, that means the economic reality of the country hasn't changed that much. And that's not necessarily a good news, because that means it remained constantly bad.
No, what I mean is that the dollar changes. I mean, it hasn't changed in the whole year, but the prices keep going up. And I don't know why the dollar has remained so low when it should be way higher. I don't know if Maduro is still president. If the country isn't producing or taking the economic measures it needs to take to, be better, then why is the dollar at the same level? I believe that when it's about to explode, like when it stops being stalled at 200, it's going way up too quickly. And what I mean is that when the United States stop buying our oil, the dollar is going to go to the sky. Like, and if we actually are earning around $5 to $3 per month, what are we going to earn then when that happens?
It's gonna be disaster.
We're going to talk in terms of cents. Ronald, another question?
Yeah, we talk about America. Let's talk about Russia, because Vladimir Putin is deeply involved in Russia. Do you know anything about this? Sorry, Vladimir Putin is deeply involved in Venezuela.
Yeah, well, I have no idea about that, but I know that thanks to Chavez, not only Cubans are here, there are also Russians, there are also Iranians, there are also Chinese. I mean, like, this.
Commies worldwide unite.
What?
Commies worldwide unite.
Exactly. Yes, and it's awful because, but I actually right now I see Venezuela as Latin America's bitch, like or the world's. It's that, like, and Putin and China and all those powers are just doing whatever they want.
Right. Okay, I think we've gone long enough for an hour. That's good enough. We've definitely learned a few new things, and definitely our viewers will learn new things once I get to publish. When I'll publish this, people will hear you in a distorted voice. We've had to distort Mr. X's voice a little bit to keep him as far away as possible from governmental danger, or at the very least do what we can to prevent you from essentially being spotted.
Yes,
So
please, like, I these police, like they don't work for the average citizen, but when they want to find someone for real, of course, they work.
Right. Any final message that you would like to present before we wrap this up?
Yeah, well, I would like to tell anyone currently living in a free capitalist country, or more or less the remains of one, um, don't fall to communism. It's I can't I, like I I'm very anti-left right now, and the worst kind of left has to be the European left. Like, you are first world, you are in the Hunger Games, you are the capital district, and how the fuck are you going to be socialists? It makes no sense.
Well, it does make sense. I mean, at the, in Romanian we have a say, "I s-a urât cu binele." You just have to, you have it so well that now you started getting enamored with retarded ideas, essentially. And I think I know where you're coming from, because you probably read the statements of people like Jeremy Corbyn, for instance, who is a militant commie, an ex-KGB guy, a leader of the Labour Party in Britain. Yeah, there are a lot of commies in Europe, for sure. Yeah, the president of the European Commission is a commie, and the previous one was a Portuguese Maoist. So yeah, a lot of commies on this continent, sadly.
Oh my god, yes, that makes no sense. It's like I believe the world is going to see very soon the rise of another Pinochet.
Oh yeah.
Start up the rotors.
Yeah, by the way, that could be an option. Oust Maduro violently from power and declare unification with Chile. I mean, definitely would be some progress there. Of course, I'm only half joking because, and I really need to ask this. I know I said we're gonna wrap it up, but I really need to ask this. Is there any hope? And I know it's a controversial question, but is there any hope of a, I'm going to say it, a violent solution? Because at the end of the day, these kinds of regimes, rarely do they fall peacefully. It usually involves some sort of violence. Yeah, it's going to take some blood being spilled. Do you have any hope, or do you think it is possible even now to have a violent uprising, essentially?
Well, I don't know. Like, we've been listening for years that a civil war is about to start, that there is a coup incoming, that, then there was Oscar Perez saying he was going to liberate us, or something, and they killed him. It's like they just put in jail someone who was pretty close to Chavez and to even Maduro and Rodriguez Torres. So this is very weird. I don't know what will happen. They are all, fighting between them. The communists are all fighting between them. Like Luis Ortega Diaz, the general attorney, she was the one who put Leopoldo Lopez in jail. But Leopoldo Lopez is from the fake opposition, so yeah, it's yeah, like, I don't understand. Like,
Yeah, that's what Stalin used to do, imprison even his closest people.
yes, no, I mean exactly, like, Leopoldo Lopez was the opposition, is currently, actually even is still the most liked opposition leader, and it was this general attorney who put him in jail because he called people to go to the streets to, protest, the situation. And some people died, and they decided to put him in jail just because he asked people to go to the streets, as if he was guilty of the murders. But that's kind of the official version both the opposition and the government sell you. But right now, Leopoldo Lopez is at his home. He's paying jail at home. I don't know how to say it in English.
Home arrest.
Home arrest. All right. He's paying home arrest, and what does that tell you? That tells me that he somehow negotiated with them, and
Not a
he
deal
is
with
part
them.
of Voluntad Popular, and Voluntad Popular is a leftist political party. All opposition political parties are leftist, but for Maria Corina's Venezuela.
Yeah, that sadly sounds like a very Eastern European story. For all in for better or worse, mostly for worse. All right, thanks a lot for. Go ahead, please.
I have a last question for you,
Please.
Mr. X. Do you have a message for Bernie Sanders?
For Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Why are you asking me this? I don't relate.
Because Bernie Sanders promotes socialism in the United States, and he has a lot of followers. We're talking about tens of millions of Americans who are willing to vote for this man. So if you have a message for Bernie Sanders, automatically you have a message also for these people.
Oh, well, I wasn't aware that Bernie was leftist, but I keep my message against everything that is left. Like, I don't believe no, it's not socialism. It's not real communism, and that's bullshit. That's like Trump even said it. Trump said it. Venezuela isn't in the current situation it is because communism has been poorly implemented, but because communism has been faithfully implemented. He said it.
Yep.
And he's right. And I can't believe how much of the presidents that were there listening to him kind of hesitated to clap at this truth. Like they are all leftists. There is this kind of conspiracy globally of the left. It's pretty horrible.
It's just that leftists meet each other and congregate with each other. It doesn't need to be a conspiracy when most people are stupid. It's never suspect conspiracy when stupidity can explain it quite a lot. But yeah, with regards to Bernie Sanders even lauded the queues or the lines for bread in Cuba. That's why Ronald asked you about Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders is a full-blown, honest to God commie in the United States, and I don't know. I mean, he's probably the only one who would have been worse than Hillary, I guess. Right. So, all right. I think that will be quite enough. It's about 1 hour, and if we keep it longer, we won't get enough people watching. And we need these things to be on. Maybe we can schedule another time, maybe a few months from now, and try this again, maybe after the so-called elections, because you said that their legality is debatable. All right, so thanks a lot for coming, Mr. X. Thanks a lot, Ronald, for coming again on the channel. And that will be pretty much it. See you all soon. Cheers.
See you all.
Ciao.